I guess after this video now we're familiar with what is the global warming and what are like bad effects and the bad things that might happen because of this. This problem is a very important problem in our life, and it's one of our environmental problems. If we're talking about our community, the environment is one of the things that we need to take care of. Now, environment is very important. We need to be friendly to that environment. Because if you were against the environment, don't try to mess with Mother Nature. Mother Nature can mess with you more than you think. Remember like the story about some people? Some people hate it like, the owls, okay, back then, long time ago. And they hated the rats. But they needed to get rid of the rats, so they brought lots of owls, lots of owls to eat the rats. Now, so the owls came and ate all of the rats, most of them, and then started to find a new prey, the sheep. So you see, like you corrupted the balance, and actually it reflected on you. Now, do not corrupt the balance. The balance was created for a reason, okay? For balancing everything. Let's say, for example, the lion. The lion eats what? Eats the buffaloes, the wild buffaloes, the bisons. So the lion eats the buffalo, and the buffalo and the ant eats the lion. If you heard that, like wise thing before, this wisdom before about like when the lion dies, he turns into grass, and this grass, the buffalo or the bison eats the grass. So technically, it's the circle of life. So everyone is a prey for the other person. We are prey for other people because technically, when we die, we turn into what? We turn into ashes. Okay, and we actually like change and change, and we turn into, if we will like spend like long time, we turn into like oil or something like that, So we turn into fossils. You understand? So that's the thing. So Mother Nature is supposed to be our friend. We're supposed to take care of it. Okay. Now, let's watch this video about Mother Nature. I've stopped the video because like we don't need to see more killing. But now this is like the thing. So now we understand what's the core of the problem. The core of the problem that we are messing with our nature. We are doing wrong things to the nature. Okay? Now, so lots of things we do are not nice. Lots of things we do are not correct. Okay? Something like what we're going to have now. We're going to have this thing. What's that thing? Okay, deforestation. What means deforestation? Deforestation, that means cutting the wood. When I cut the wood, okay, it's not going to actually, like, we will have the same problem that we're talking about. That this problem, like, that we will not have enough trees to actually provide us with enough oxygen. Now, we breathe through these trees. When we cut the trees, without like a law or something like that, so we learn nothing. So that's the thing. So when we cut the trees, we actually take our like air, like we take the things that we need in our life. Destruction of the trees by like charcoal burners, if I want charcoal, okay, has results, okay. Complete deforestation of an island, that can cause death to this island. Okay, now we have an animation about that thing so you can understand this problem more like properly, okay?
house built out of stone, wooden floors, walls and window sills, tables and chairs warmed by all of the dust. This is a place where I don't feel alone. This is a place where I feel at home. Built a home for you, for me, until you disappeared from me, from you. And now it's time to out in the garden where we planted the seeds, there is a tree as old as me.
After this video, I guess we understand what is deforestation. Okay. So that's one of the problems that we have. That's one of the things that we have. One of the issues with our environment. One of the things that we need to work on. We need to take care of this thing. Okay. I know like the session today is about like presenting like some problems, but this is how we understand problems. Now we are grown ups. We are trying to use our English. So we need to learn like new vocabulary and how to use these new vocabularies in a sentence and to use them in a conversation. How to talk about them. Let's go next. Okay, let's go for another problem we have in our community, which is pollution. Pollution is a very important problem. It's a problem like you can say like it has lots of types. What are the types of pollution? Now let's talk about the first type of pollution. Land pollution. Land pollution is anything that damages or contaminates the land. What do we mean damage the land? Like the rubbish. Like when you try to do some bad things, some damages to the land. All of these are like somehow going to ruin the land one day. Now, so we have to pay attention to this. Now, ruining the land, okay, it's our land. It's the same thing. If we're talking about deforestation, deforestation is part of the pollution. Part of the land pollution, when we actually remove the trees, we remove the thing that purifies the air. It helps animals to be a shelter. So, and also when we actually when we do that, like land pollution, it will damage us as well because the land is part of us. Now, let's try to watch this video about landscapes.
The will to live life differently can start in some of the most unusual places. This is where I come from, Todmorden. It's a market town in the north of England, 15,000 people, between Leeds and Manchester, fairly normal market town. Used to look like this, and now it's more like this, with fruit and veg and herbs sprouting up all over the place. We call it propaganda gardening. Corner of our railway station car park, front of our health centre, people's front gardens, and even in front of the police station. We've got edible canal towpaths, and we've got sprouting cemeteries. The soil is extremely good. We've even invented a new form of tourism. It's called vegetable tourism. And believe it or not, people come from all over the world to poke around in our raised beds, even when there's not much growing. But it starts a conversation. And you know, we're not doing it because we're bored. We're doing it because we want to start a revolution. We try to answer this simple question: can you find a unifying language that cuts across age and income and culture that will help people themselves find a new way of living? See spaces around them differently, think about the resource they use differently, interact differently. Can we find that language? And then can we replicate those actions? And the answer would appear to be yes, and the language would appear to be food. So 3.5 years ago, a few of us sat around the kitchen table and we just invented the whole thing. We came up with a really simple game plan that we put to a public meeting. We did not consult, we did not write a report, enough of all that. And we said to that public meeting in Todmorden, look, let's imagine that our town is focused around 3 plates. A community plate, the way we live our everyday lives. A learning plate, what we learn, what we teach our kids in school, and what new skills we share amongst ourselves. And business, what we do with the pound in our pocket, and which businesses we choose to support. Now, let's imagine those plates agitated with community actions around food. If we start one of those community plates spinning, that's really great. That really starts to empower people. But if we can then spin that community plate with the learning plate and then spin it with the business plate, we've got a real show there. We've got some action theatre. We're starting to build resilience ourselves. We're starting to reinvent community ourselves. And we've done it all without a flipping strategy document. And here's the thing as well. We've not asked anybody's permission to do this, we're just doing it. And we are certainly not waiting for that cheque to drop through the letterbox before we start. And most importantly of all, we are not daunted by the sophisticated arguments that say these small actions are meaningless in the face of tomorrow's problems, because I have seen the power of small actions and it is awesome. So, back to the public meeting. We put that proposition to the meeting, 2 seconds, and then the room exploded. I have never, ever experienced anything like that in my life. And it's been the same in every single room, in every town that we've ever told our story. People are ready and respond to the story of food. They want positive actions they can engage in, and in their bones, they know it's time to take personal responsibility and invest in more kindness to each other and to the environment. And since we had that meeting 3.5 years ago, it's been a heck of a roller coaster. We started with a seed swap, really simple stuff, and then we took an area of land, a strip on the side of our main road, which was a dog toilet basically, and we turned it into a really lovely herb garden. We took the corner of the car park in the station that you saw, and we made vegetable beds for everybody to share and pick from themselves. We went to the doctors. We've just had a £6 million health centre built in Todmorden, and for some reason that I cannot comprehend, it has been surrounded by prickly plants. So we went to the doctors, said, would you mind us taking them up? They said, absolutely fine, provided you get planning permission and you do it in Latin and you do it in triplicate. So we did. And now there are fruit trees and bushes and herbs and vegetables around that doctor's surgery. And there's been lots of other examples, like the corn that was in front of the police station and the old people's home that we've planted up with food that they can pick and grow. But it isn't just about growing, because we all are part of this jigsaw. It's about taking those artistic people in your community and doing some fabulous designs in those raised beds to explain to people what's growing there. Because there's so many people that don't really recognise a vegetable unless it's in a bit of plastic with a bit of an instruction packet on the top. So we have some people who design these things. If it looks like this, please don't pick it. But if it looks like this, help yourself. This is about sharing and investing in kindness. And for those people that don't want to do either of those things, maybe they can cook. So we pick them seasonally, and then we go on the street or in the pub or in the church or wherever people are living their lives. This is about us going to the people and saying, we are all part of the local food jigsaw, we are all part of a solution. And then, because we know we've got vegetable tourists and we love them to bits and they're absolutely fantastic, we thought, what can we do to give them an even better experience? So we invented, without asking of course, the incredible edible green route. And this is a route of exhibition gardens and edible towpaths and bee-friendly sites and the story of pollinators. And it's a route that we designed that takes people through the whole of our town, past our cafes and our small shops, through our market, not just to and fro from the supermarket. And we're hoping that in changing people's footfall around our town, we're also changing their behaviour. And then there's the second plate, the learning plate. Well, we're in partnership with the high school. We've created a company. We are designing and building an aquaponics unit in some land that was spare at the back of the high school, like you do. And now we're going to be growing fish and vegetables in an orchard with bees. And the kids are helping us build that. And the kids are on the board. And because the community was really keen on working with the high school is now teaching agriculture. And because it's teaching agriculture, we started to think, how can we then get those kids that never had a qualification before in their lives but are really excited about growing, how can we give them some more experience? So we got some land that was donated by a local garden centre. It was really quite muddy, but in a truly incredible way, totally voluntary led, we have turned that into a market garden training centre. And that is polytunnels and raised beds and all the things you need to get the soil under your fingers and think, maybe there's a job in this for me in the future. And because we were doing that, some local academics said, you know, we could help design a commercial horticulture course for you. There's not one that we know of. So they're doing that, and we're going to launch it later this year. And it's all an experiment, and it's all voluntary. And then there's the third plate. Because if you walk through an edible landscape, and if you're learning new skills, and if you start to get interested in what's growing seasonally, you might just want to spend more of your own money in support of local producers. Not just veg, but meat and cheese and beer and whatever else it might be. But then we're just a community group, you know, we're just all volunteers. What could we actually do? So we did some really simple things. We fundraised, we got some blackboards, we put Incredible Edible on the top, we gave it to every market trader that was selling locally, and they scribbled on what they were selling in any one week. Really popular, people congregated around it, sales were up. And then we had a chat with the farmers and we said, we're really serious about this, but they didn't actually believe us. So we thought, okay, what should we do? I know, if we can create a campaign around one product and show them there is local loyalty to that product, maybe they'll change their mind and see we're serious. So we launched a campaign, because it just amuses me, called Every Egg Matters. And what we did was we put people on our egg map. It's a stylised map of Todmorden. Anybody that's selling their excess eggs at the garden gate, perfectly legally, to their neighbours, we've stuck on there. We started with 4. And we've now got 64 on. And the result of that was that people were then going into shops asking for a local Todmorden egg. And the result of that was some farmers upped the amount of flocks they got of free-range birds, and then they went on to meat birds. And although these are really, really small steps, that increasing local economic confidence is starting to play out in a number of ways. And we now have farmers doing cheese, and they've upped their flocks of rare breed pigs. They're doing pasties and pies and things that they would have never have done before. We've got increasing market stalls selling local food, and in a survey that local students did for us, 49% of all food traders in that town said that their bottom line had increased because of what we were actually doing. And we're just volunteers, and it's only an experiment. Now, none of this is rocket science. It certainly is not clever, and it's not original. But it is joined up, and it is inclusive. This is not a movement for those people that are going to sort themselves out anyway. This is a movement for everyone. We have a motto: if you eat, you're in. Across age, across income, across culture. It's been really quite a roller coaster experience. But going back to that first question that we asked, Is it replicable? Yeah. It most certainly is replicable. More than 30 towns in England now are spinning the incredible edible plates. Whichever way they want to do it, they're of their own volition, they're trying to make their own lives differently. And worldwide, we've got communities across America and Japan. It's incredible, isn't it? I mean, what can you say? America and Japan and New Zealand. People, after the earthquake in New Zealand, visited us in order to incorporate some of this public spiritedness around local growing into the heart of Christchurch. And none of this takes more money, and none of this demands a bureaucracy. But it does demand that you think things differently and you are prepared to bend budgets and work programmes in order to create that supportive framework that communities can bounce off. And there's some great ideas already in our patch. Our local authority has decided to make everywhere incredible edible, and in support of that have decided to do two things. First, they're going to create an asset register of spare land that they've got, put it in a food bank so that communities can use that wherever they live, and they're going to underpin that with a licence. And then they've said to every single one of their workforce, if you can, help those communities grow and help them maintain their spaces. Suddenly, we're seeing actions on the ground from local government. We're seeing this mainstreamed. We are responding creatively at last to what Rio demanded of us. And there's lots more you could do. I mean, just to list a few. One, please stop putting prickly plants around public buildings. It's a waste of space. Secondly, please create edible landscapes so that our children start to walk past their food day in, day out, on our high streets, in our parks, wherever that might be. Inspire local planners to put the food sites at the heart of the town and the city plan, not relegate them to the edges of the settlements that nobody can see. Encourage all our schools to take this seriously. This isn't a second-class exercise. If we want to inspire the farmers of tomorrow, then please let us say to every school, create a sense of purpose around the importance of the environment, local food and soils. Put that at the heart of your school culture and you will create a different generation. There are so many things you can do, but ultimately this is about something really simple. Through an organic process, through an increasing recognition of the power of small actions, we are starting at last to believe in ourselves again. And to believe in our capacity, each and every one of us, to build a different and a kinder future. And in my book, that's incredible. Thank you.
To Dr. Pam. Okay, so you can see here, like, about her experiment. When she tried to plan things, when she tried to change her neighborhood into a green neighborhood, and when she talked about the plan and how did they actually do it and how did they manage to achieve it eventually. Okay, now that's a good thing. Okay, so we can say that this is a start. Now, remember, like, we had like some problems, so that somehow can be like a solution for one of the problems or anything. Now let's go to another kind of pollution. Now, what's that kind? That kind is correct. Yes, we talked about, like, here the land pollution, so now it's the time to talk about the water pollution. Now, water pollution happens when chemicals or dangerous foreign substances are introduced to water. Now, when people throw waste inside water, water pollution happens. Now, if we're talking about this, now let's think about this a little. Now, what is water? Water is the liquid that keeps us alive. So if we actually ruin the liquid that keeps us alive, if we mess with the nature that way, the nature will mess with us. Now, if we ruin this source of life, we will not stay alive. So that's the point. The point here is, like, we need to find solutions for problems like this. We need to find new sources for water. Now, how, like for example, now, let me tell you something. We try to throw waste inside water because it's easy and it's, okay, I need to get rid of my things. Okay, I contaminate water with chemical substance, which is like very harmful. It can cause cancer, it can cause lots of disease and lots of things. So if we're talking about this kind of pollution, okay, how can we solve this problem? Yes, by raising awareness. Always, to solve a problem, you need to what? You need to raise, raise awareness. Raise awareness. Tell them that this is not a good thing. This is not a correct thing to do. Okay, so this is how we solve our problems. By trying to actually, like, admit that we have a problem, and by trying to find a core of this problem and solve it. Okay? Now, so let's go for this video about oceans and how oceans clean themselves. Okay? Because in oceans, like, we have some chemical substance we throw in the oceans because of the tankers of like the oil and ships and the gas that we throw in the sea. Like, we kill some fish, but how do oceans clean themselves? That's the question, and that's what we're going to see in this video. Let's watch.
Once there was a Stone Age, a Bronze Age, and now we are in the middle of the Plastic Age. Because every year we produce about 300 million tons of plastic, and a fraction of that enters rivers, waterways, and eventually the oceans. If we want to eat a biscuit nowadays, we have to buy a biscuit within a plastic wrapper, within a plastic tray, within a cardboard box, within some plastic foil, within a plastic bag. It's not hazardous nuclear waste, it's a biscuit. And well, this is me. I love diving. Just taking you through my holiday slides here. This is at the pristine Azores Islands. And this is how their beaches look, covered with plastic fragments. Due to sun and waves, over the years, the garbage breaks down into ever smaller pieces, but remains plastic. And, well, interestingly, you don't see a lot of red particles in here, because those look like food to birds, more than any other color. So this is the result. And while the debris primarily collects at these 5 rotating currents, called the gyres, where it doesn't only directly kill sea life, but due to the absorption of PCBs and DDTs, also poisons the food chain. A food chain that includes us, humans. And while diving in Greece, I came across more plastic bags than fish. And astounded by the depressing sight, my Scottish dive buddy turned to me and said, "Well, lots of jellyfishes here, Dee. Seen about 1,000. There were no jellyfishes. And when talking about environmental issues in general, I think a common response is, well, that's a long way off. That's for our children to worry about. So hello, here I am. Why don't we just clean it up? Now, there are multiple reasons why current plastic pollution researchers believe we should focus on prevention. For example, through education, rather than attempting a cleanup operation, because we would need to deal with 5 colossal areas, each moving around. Plastic sizes ranging from these massive ghost nets to molecules, bycatches and emissions. Furthermore, we would need to get all the plastic back to land. It would need to be financially realistic and is in fact the total amount of plastic within the gyres unknown. But about a year ago, when I was on my way to the hairdressers, and I must admit, I don't go there often, but I had this little epiphany. I saw even old people throwing rubbish in the water, and I thought, well, some people will just never learn, will they? We'll need a combination of both worlds. I will need them soon. So then, I simply used this list of concerns as challenges. And in fact, a week later, as a school assignment, I had the chance to spend a lot of time on a subject of choice together with a friend of mine.